Dialtown, the best dating sim of the decade. I doubt you need an introduction to Dialtown if you've been following me for a while, but I will still give a brief one in case there are people out there that don't know what it is. Dialtown, aka Dialtown phone dating sim, is a phone dating sim. It's very self-explanatory. However, there is more to it than just dating phones. There's actually a very well-written and complex story to it. Also, along with the engaging plot, several endings, and three-dimensional characters, there's also trivia! Fun facts that may or may not be important. Believe it or not, I'm something of a Dialtown trivia expert myself. Not that I wrote like 8,000 words about it and run a Twitter account for anything. So obviously I'd be like one of the best people to cover this very, very, very niche topic. Keep in mind, these fun facts will contain or reference spoilers, so if you haven't played or seen gameplay, I seriously suggest you do that first. The game itself also has some interesting topics, but never mind that. That's just the charm Dialtown has. You know, that's what makes it special. Also, during the time of writing this script, a DLC for Roger's Route was announced. Isn't that the best timing or what? Well, I have nothing else to share, so without further ado, here's over 100 things you may or may not have known about Dialtown. The composer of the game's official soundtrack, Nathan Hanover, forgive me if I pronounced that wrong, makes a cameo on both the normal version and in Dialtown. There is no confirmed way to pronounce the protagonist's name, however you say it is the right way. There is a very rare chance that you may encounter a dog with an actual dog face taped on it. Very cute. Oliver Swift is canonically transgender. In fact, he mentions he made his own head. Isn't that cool? Swans have paper shredders because they were originally going to be domesticated and put into workplaces. This clearly does not work out though. Pierre and the characters you meet during the optional speed dating segment are all fan characters. A while ago there was some sort of Patreon thing where you could get your original character put into Dialtown. You could send pictures of yourself for the body. Peter and Roger can speak Pig Latin. Funnily, the only instance of this is demonstrated when Roger starts oversharing to Gingy about Peter and Caroline's private life. Peter interrupts him and says, "Ixnay on the Edroom Bay," which means next on the bedroom. That's just him politely telling her to shut the fuck up. God, aka Hobo, is not a self-insert for Dark Doggo, Dialtown's creator. The only reason they have the same dog face thingy is because as Direct Doggo made the game Dialtown, God made the universe in Dialtown. Again, not a self-insert, just a silly joke. Miramingus can purr. Not much to add on to this, but it is cute. She also has claws. The outfit that Randy wears is actually one that Dogman wears often. Like, a lot. The face model for Miramingus is Direct Doggo's cat, Salvage. Look how cute it is. There was a scrapped idea that Doggo had where you could ask Randy out, then change your mind and take someone else out. To explain what happened in simple terms, you on your day will get to the fun fair via subway, but since Randy's broke, he would be late. By the time Randy arrives, he sees that you already went out with someone else. This would be funnier and sadder at the same time if you were to ask out Oliver, as him and Randy are friends. Karen Dunn is canonically autistic. Her special interest is horses. It wasn't obvious by how she decorated her apartment, the sticker on her head, and her excitement when discovering the carousel. She also doesn't enjoy sarcasm or idioms since she doesn't understand them, and heavily prefers literal language. In the first chapter, Jerry's marriage isn't doing so well. However, when he gets a new job as a shepherd, it seems to be going more smoothly. It was revealed on Karen's route during the date. Gingy did not know that animals had flesh heads dating before the worldwide dial-up. Also, horses have engines for heads for horsepower. Bigfoot might know his birthday, as every year on June 19th, he walks around town and demands a banana from everyone he comes across. Good lord. There's an extremely high chance Callum had some sort of romantic relationship with his best friend Vice President Milton Wallace. I mean, he literally calls him Babe. I don't know a single straight guy who calls his friend Babe. The animal heads for the hatchlings are meant to represent the datables. A horse for Karen, an emu for Oliver, an eagle for Norm, a monkey or ape for Bigfoot, and a raccoon for Randy. Related to the previous fact, the dead raccoon you find at the very start of Randy's route is the raccoon hatchling. Like his reincarnation. It's awful. Randy is attracted to multiple genders. This is very obvious due to the fact that you can do his route regardless of which head you choose in his famous line, "Beggars can't be choosers." Lauren Deere, the computer lady you meet at the speed dating sequence, runs the conspiracy website. The funny thing is, the conspiracies may be true. I mean, she was spot on with her Bigfoot theories, so for all we know, she could be right about the deer one too. Gingy can't really read, but is able to write fairly decently, as demonstrated by Randy's good ending and the weeping and wanting orange peel and Oliver's route. The demo for the game was released on February 14th, 2020, Valentine's Day. The full game was released 2 years later, February 14th, 2022. So while the full game is over a year old, it can also be considered 3 years old. God recalls creating Gingy's species millions of years ago, and wishes species luck with dominating the human race in the future. Keeping in mind, he is not referring to Gingy as an individual, the species, not just Gingy. He also says he finds the species weird. Rude. Gingy has a tongue hidden inside his fleshy head. This is obviously very concerning and frightening, seeing that having a fleshy noggin is not typical in Dialtown. Along with that, it also has an eye hidden under there somewhere. Exciting. In Dialtown, the swans have glowing red eyes, chant Latin, and levitate. Not fly, like float off the ground. Shortly after discovering this, Randy quits his job and only works for the hotline. Cats have keyboards for heads. Not the musical instrument, but a typing keyboard. My suspicion is that this is because cats love lying on keyboards. The appearance of Gingy's tail in Chapter 3 is randomized. It could look scaly, fluffy, or like to an aquatic animal. Jerry has several sickly German shepherds that all have Alsatian eczema and all need specific ointments for it. I just know his wallet is drained from this. The silly faces on Norm's sticky note are hallucinated by Gingy by consuming ungodly amounts of cough syrup. The real face is the one you first see when you get a good look at him. Gingy hunted and ate centipedes as a small child. Nobody really knows Bigfoot's gender. They all just kind of defaulted to using he, him. I mean, technically you could use she, they, anything for Bigfoot, and you wouldn't exactly be wrong, because nobody knows. Gingy's blood is blue, alike to that of a crab, which is why I suspect his skin is green, because your blood is the reason why your skin may have a reddish pigment. Randy was raised Catholic, which I consider ironic considering one of his jobs in the first chapter. Karen's printer head was implanted to accommodate for the way she thinks and communicates. See, she thinks in pictures far better than in words, so she got a printer. I'm 99% sure that's because of her autism. Gingy's tail can fall off and regrow, as mentioned briefly to a little bit within the first 2 chapters that show in the third. Karen Dunn is a lesbian, as she rejects Gingy if it has a phone head and says she's more of a typewriter kind of gal. God is described to be alike to Diogenes. God's birthday is probably January 1st. There's also something to do with him making his birthday Pancake Tuesday in hopes of getting free food, but I doubt that worked. The music that plays in Dialtown is all in Gingy's head. Yet another product of chugging cough syrup nearly every single day. However, Dogman also said on Twitter that there is another explanation for this, but that's for another time. Gabby, aka the woman who works in the headcase shop, has a pun name. See, Gab means to chit-chat or talk about trivial matters, which is exactly what she does. Callum gave his prosthetic arm to his best friend Milton as a gift, along with the joke of it being to his right-hand man. The joke is that it's literally his right hand. God himself cannot help with Callum's memory loss. This is revealed in a short story Dogman posted on Tumblr. Gingy's diet seemed to consist of centipedes, roadkill, gravel, cough syrup, aka nectar, cockroaches, dumpster scraps, and horse jerky, and maybe even more. When given the option to punch God, Gingy's hand is covered in a ripped substance. I have no idea if it's blood, honestly. The name of Randy's ex-date in his little flashback sequence is Lola. If I do recall, she also appears in the Well quiz. I'm 99% sure Norm is a widower, as he was married before the time warp, which I think occurred somewhere in the 60s. Assuming that Dialtown is set in present day, as in like 2020 something, that'll be 80 years. I don't think she's alive anymore. The model choice for Randy's head is pretty ironic, seeing that Nokia phones are notoriously known for being invincible, while Randy isn't. This is intentional. Randy has a pet swan and a pet possum. He wishes for one to scare the other away. On one hand, he likes the swan because it's a good guard animal. On the other, he finds the possum relatable. He won't specify what he means by that. Tango's real name is Terrence, but, everyone still calls him Tango because it's fun. Callum's real name is a pun, but it has a couple of levels to it. Like, you need to dissect it. Callum, depending on how you pronounce it, sounds like column. His surname Crown could refer to two things: crown as in a headpiece signifying royalty, or crown as in your head. These both fit perfectly with his character, the royalty one being a clear reference to his time spent being a large political figure. If you take the time to really put two and two together, his name Column and Crown, signifying head, quite literally means phone head. That naming is, in my opinion, genius. Gingy carries a cringe onion around and bites it to relieve stress during awkward moments. This is a 2-for-1 deal. First of all, either God seemingly has the ability to just take off object heads and give the specimen the fleshy counterpart, which is only displayed with Stromboli while talking to him in the endless void, or when animals or people die in Dialtown, like in the afterlife, they have the flesh head. Personally, I think the first one makes more sense as people are born with adapters instead of heads. If you eat Nathan alive in Dialtown, the music stops playing. As mentioned before, he is the composer of the official soundtrack, so it really will only make sense for the music to disappear when he disappears as well. Near the very end of narrator's route, Gingy tells Randy how he hears music constantly, and that Randy has his own theme. When Randy asks what it sounds like, Gingy describes it as having a tropical or cheap holiday vibe, which I think is pretty accurate. The curator of the museum at Karen's route also has a pun name, Kiri. This should be obvious, but it's a pun because Kiri sounds similar to curator. The person you see on the title screen is a character that belongs to artists that drew the end cards. Apparently, the Twitter @ is MJ Stringer Ward, but I have no idea if this person is still active. Oliver's music taste is David Bowie, and The Might Be Giants. Randy had an emo phase, which lasted for at least a week in high school. Kiri is canonically non-binary. If I can recall, they're referred to with they, them, and their head is a hybrid, a typewriter with a rotary dial slapped on. The concept art for the official plushies are done by Twitter user UV Gingy has faint childhood memories of being raised by clowns, however, it blocks these memories out and just denies the existence in general. It seems that both Phone Gingy and Randy occasionally forget that their heads are phones. For example, the phone booth not working, Gingy just then remembers it could just call the hotline with its head in Randy's route, and Randy just remembering his head as a phone when applying for a job. Oliver is canonically gay. He gets straight to the point if you try to date him while donning a typewriter, as he says he's a phone fucker first, a monster fucker second. Very inspired words, thank you, Oliver. Phone Gingy's head models eerily identical to Callum's. They're practically the same, one is just mirrored, you know. Bunny, aka Randy's old boss, has a pun name. See, Dogman thought Bunny was something that could sound cheesy and fit a burger restaurant. For a bonus, it calls because Bunny. Bun. Burger bun. Yeah. The object heads that animals have are very fitting. Frogs have tape measurers for their tongues, giraffes have ladders for their necks, emus have rifles, raccoons have trash bins, horses have engines, cats have keyboards, sheep have yarn balls, pigeons have mailboxes, possums have books, swans have paper shredders, alpacas have meat grinders, and dogs have gramophones. Oh my god. This may not be noticeable at first, but Bigfoot has a piece of tape stuck to his head. Gingy has mole vision and can only see about 10 feet in front of it. Direct Doggo is a body model of Randy Theodore and I think Jerry. Karen's head isn't real. By that I mean her head's a 3D model. Gingy's piss is red. This little bit of info makes fact number 45 a little worse to think about. Gingy has been sued by Karen multiple times for drinking her paint. While phones are typically associated with boys and typewriters are typically associated with girls, it's not too uncommon for people to change their heads for something different, whether that be for self-expression or for their job. In Dialtown, you have the option to take the pen from Karen's desk, and she's not at the bank at the moment. If you were to ring up Randy after doing this, he'd say that Karen noticed her pen is missing, so now actively hunting for whoever took it. Good job! Jack Kennedy from J Shot at Freddy's, a different game series Doggo developed, is referenced as an Easter egg by Peter and Harry, both of which are also cameo characters from the same series. The font for Randy is Watch Your Hands, the font for Norm is Byron Bold, the font for Oliver is Acme, the font for Bigfoot and Theodore is Luckiest Guy, and the font for Little Billy is Schoolbell. That's all the ones I know from memory. The relationship between Shooty and Stabby is unknown, as Dogman has yet to confirm what they are. The relationship is confusing because they call each other bro, but also do things that are kind of gay. Leave your thoughts down below. I don't know, man. Mika's getting her head surgically replaced to be a replica of her grandfather's cat's face was incredibly expensive. I'd assume like $8,000 maybe. The Dialtown Casino is actually just a front for the Dialtown mob. Funny thing is that nobody even finds the mob threatening or scary at all, except for, like, you know, Randy. Gigi is completely capable of shutting off its brain, which functions similarly to enabling low power mode on your device. There are not one but two characters who have a problem with their junk up. This is an awful discovery, but it's trivia, so I'm legally obligated to cover it. Basically, the knife-headed mobster, who personally I believe is Stabby, could steal Gingy from Randy. He tries things and ends up he's all barking a bite in purple text. The other one is Norm. This is covered not only in his little banter with God, but also referenced in the soulmate quiz. Again, this is mentioned multiple times in 2 games. Oliver wrote fan fictions when he was a teenager. That's all I gotta say. It seems that Karen's head has been the same size since she was a baby when compared to the image of baby Randy, which would make sense because it's not like a typical head model. Oliver Swift is an orphan and sees Mr. Dickens as a father figure. In fact, he sees a lot of older men he knows as father figures, possibly including Norm. This is a genuine issue he has that, if he were still in contact with his therapist, would absolutely be a topic they have to discuss together. Adding on to Oliver possibly seeing Norm as a father figure, Oliver would enjoy listening to Norm tell stories from before the World War dial-up. Mika speaks fluently in Chinese. If Norm were to have a phone head, it would likely be something rustic or wooden. He'd also be very mad whenever someone tried to call him on it. Phone usually casually talks about the strong eating the weak, and Randy's terrified of this happening one day. To make sure people didn't get the wrong idea, Doggo added a line saying that there are not any other members of Gigi's species walking around Dialtown. The sniffing noise you hear when Gigi sniffs a glass of Bunny's burgers was Doggo, like his recording of Doggo sniffing the mic. Oliver once called Randy a meathead during a game night, and Randy cried in a closet. They're still on good terms though, don't worry. Karen's name's not as much of a pun, but I'd say it still counts. Basically, her name sounds like done, D-O-N-E. Karen's done. This is also kind of explained for her intro to chapter 2 on her route, so done. Gigi is basically a cocktail of several different animals. It has blue blood like a crab, lays eggs like a reptile bird, has the vision of a mole, has 6 like a mammal, can detach and regrow body parts like a lizard or axolotl, has red urine like a rabbit, multiple stomachs like a sheep or deer, and many more features. Gigi's eggs are described to be watermelon-sized, which hurts to think about. Karen can't stand going to the movie theaters because of the overwhelming noises of people eating. Autism strikes yet again. There's a possibility that Jerry's infertile, which is why he has so many goddamn dogs. Karen is murderously specific about how her food is made. I think you know why. Randy sucks ass at juggling and riding in a unicycle. This is awful. He sucks. Karen likes mint chocolate chip ice cream. I can't believe she'd do this to me. Gigi's able to grow a fur coat, more specifically for the winter. Randy has a habit of hitting his head against things in frustration, but due to his unfortunate situation involving his head being a bomb, he catches himself doing it and freaks out every single time. Dialtown, the place, is somewhat shaped like a phone. While Norm's middle name is not confirmed beside it starting with the letter G, it is confirmed to not be Gaylord. It's not Gaylord, stop saying it's Gaylord. Thanks to Callan's genius ideas, the phone heads and make it physically impossible for people to choke on food. Related to the previous line, babies are born with these sort of adapters instead of heads so they could have their artificial heads connected. I think it's like a light bulb? I'm not entirely sure what that means. I don't know what adapter looks like. Norm seems to be ambidextrous. He wields his gun with both hands. This is just a speculation though, so take it with a grain of salt. The reason why Mika's color is so purple is because purple is a color most typically associated with royalty. Dialtown takes place in Wisconsin, not to be confused with the real-life Dialtown, which is in Georgia. Randy bites his nails to stumps, which is odd because he has no mouth, but that's none of my business. I'm not here to judge. There's a chance that Randy being the only person in Dialtown with a soul might be canon, but I will personally disagree. This is because in Oliver's route, Oliver says he can hear Randy's soul weeping. This might be a joke, but how am I supposed to know? Oliver wishes his mom waited a week or so to give birth to him so he could be born closer to Halloween so he could, quote, maximize my groovy lunar frequency, dude. There is something wrong with him. I just know it. Norm wears an erotica hat to get his Shemakin rubber up. I don't know if the hat he wears during the events of the 3rd chapter is the hat. I hope it's not. Oliver's full name is Oliver Swift IV. However, it's not like there were like 3 Oliver Swifts that came before him. The truth is, whenever he gets a raise, he scribbles down a Roman numeral to his driver's license. He doesn't have a driver's license. Nobody knows how he got one. Randy's name is a more well-known pun in Dialtown. To be brief, his first name fits a bit too well with one of his jobs, and his surname has two meanings. Jade could refer to jaded, which is kind of like depressed or lacking enthusiasm, or the gem jade, referring to the stereotype of sex workers having names aligning with gems or crystals. Speaking of his name, Randy's middle name is Valentine. He's embarrassed of this, but I don't really see why, because I personally think the name Valentine is cute in general. Gingy's name originates from Oni plays? I don't watch these people, I don't know how to pronounce it. And I made a video where a character named Bagingi shows up. Document thought this was the funniest thing ever and kept Gingy as a placeholder. Now, I know that the name it originates from has two hard G's, but it doesn't explicitly mean phonotype Gingy has to be pronounced that way. Remember, it's up to you. Even Doggo switches up how it's pronounced. Calum's birthday is November 19th, 1923, which means he'll turn 100 this November. They grow up so fast. As a youngling, Gingy originally had multiple sets of limbs. However, they were later shedded after realizing they were not important. Randy's name was originally going to be Avery, as a reference to avian, which means bird-like. I don't need to explain why. And with that, I conclude my almost 4,000 word long script of rambling. Not kidding, this is extremely close to 4,000 words long. I'm thinking about doing a video exactly like this, but with D-Shift at Freddy's, if it gets enough attention and support. If you want, you can tell me what your favorite fact was, if I got anything wrong, or if you think I missed any. And that's all. That's all I gotta say. Bye.